I was a little bit uncomfortable about perhaps making people feel fearful of it. Because that isn't the goal. It isn't about fearing it. It's about being prepared for it. And but last year in March, Lucy Jones, how many know of Lucy Jones at Caltech? She's a seismologist, and she's one of the spokespeople for earthquakes in Southern California. Lucy Jones and two other people who were in emergency management and recovery and spoke at a town hall meeting at Rancho Mirage, and Lucy Jones in her talk was unflinching about the threat of a great earthquake on the southern San Andreas. And the Great Shakeout also was alerting people to the real and ever-present threat of a great earthquake on the southern San Andreas. So they gave me permission to be a little bit more explicit about what can happen at some unknown time in the future. But because it's so overdue, the most that seismologists are willing to stick their neck out in terms of prediction, earthquake predictions are always long-term affairs. They cannot be anything less than a certain window of time because of so many vagaries and uncertainties about how these things take place. But so on the southern San Andreas, they're saying that we have about a 70% chance in the next 30 years for a great earthquake on the southern San Andreas. A great earthquake on the southern San Andreas will, how many were in the Los Angeles area during the Northridge quake? That was a 6.7 magnitude earthquake. It lasted for 7 or 8 seconds. It perpetrated, by some estimates, about $40 billion in damage. It was the most costly natural disaster in the United States up to that time. It was superseded, I think, by Hurricane Andrew and Katrina. Killed 57 people, and there's a huge amount of damage to infrastructure and personal property and freeways, freeway overpasses. That 6.7. So to put it in context, the great earthquake on the southern Andreas that geologists are predicting is going to be 20 times greater than the Northridge. Instead of lasting 6 or 7 seconds, it'll last about 2 to 2.5 minutes.
Wow!
And depending on where the fault originally breaks, it'll either be moving toward you or away from you. If it starts at the southern end, it'll rip to the north, probably all the way past Cajon Pass. It'll probably rip about 150 miles of the fault. It'll take at least a couple of minutes at about 4,000 miles an hour as it travels along. And so if we're here, we'll start feeling the shaking a lot actually, down by the Salton Sea, and then it'll get more and more and more intense shaking. And then as it moves along toward the other end, the shaking will drop off. So we'll have this wave of increased shaking. That is a long quake, and the longer and more intense the shaking, the greater damage and the greater terror. So anyhow, that's all I'm going to say about the San Andreas Fault. But I think what I want to emphasize for us today is not really the earthquake or the potential for earthquakes on the San Andreas, but that the San Andreas and the associated faults are responsible for all of this topography. It's because of compression between crustal blocks pushing against each other that mountains get uplifted, and it's because of pulling apart that we get valleys like this one. This is an extensional valley. It's not an erosional feature. It's a place where the Earth's crust has been pulled apart quite a long time ago. The Gulf of California used to come all the way up here and past here all the way, some say, up to Banning. Well, Banning is over 2,000 feet right now, but 4 or 5 million years ago it wasn't. And in fact, it wasn't even there. The real estate that Banning is on was about 150 miles down that way. Yeah. So the Colorado River dammed up the the Gulf of California about 4 million years ago and cut off the southern end from the northern end. The northern end dried up and left us with the Salton Sink.